Welcome to the Driven Moms Answering Adversity interview series, stories of success through setbacks from Mom Elevated. Together, we can shine a light on how normal challenges and struggles are, along with how we can overcome and rise above them. Today, we have Ariane to share her story with us, and I'm so excited because hers is a very unique one. Ariane, can you briefly tell us about your story?
Sure. My name is Ariane, and I was raised in a cult. Not only was I raised in a cult, but I also committed my life to it as an adult. I was born into it, and from my perspective and the perspective of many people that are still involved and were involved, it was a way to give, and it was a way to love, and it was a way to worship God. So I have always had a big heart to help people. So I committed my entire life to it. My husband and I got married with the idea that that was what we were going to do for the rest of our lives. And I spent 30 years very deeply invested in it. Everyone that I knew was a part of the cult, all my friends, all my family, literally everybody that I grew up with. And it was my whole life. It was everything that I knew. And I pledged my life to it. And as I got further and further up in the leadership ranks, I discovered that it was not what I thought it was. It was incredibly abusive in a lot of different ways, financially abusive, and they were verbally abusive, and they were physically abusive, they were sexually abusive. Um, and it was just incredibly, incredibly corrupt. Um, so when I had my first child, me and my husband made the decision to leave the cult. And it had a lot to do actually with the birth of my first child. Um, they were going to force me to turn her over to someone else to take care of during the day. She was 2 months old. And the person that they wanted to force me to care for her was mentally unstable and radically violent. And she had children who were also that way. And I was not about to hand my 2 month old over to these people. So we took a stand, and I wrote a letter detailing all of the abuses that I had seen to the head, the president of the organization. And they told us we had 2 weeks to pack our stuff up and get out. And at this time, we were living in the mountains of Colorado, very high, very isolated. And we had nothing. We had nothing that we owned, nothing. We owned some clothes and we owned some books. And it was just the three of us, me and my husband and our little 6 month old baby. And we had 2 weeks to pack up and move. And we had to pick a place. We just basically like picked a place where we knew somebody that had left previously a couple years before us. And we totally restarted our lives, like completely from scratch. Um, we called up my parents and Nate's parents, and they were so disappointed, and they helped us not at all. Nobody did. Everybody turned their backs on us. And in fact, to this day, they still tell stories about this, warning stories, about like leaving and that kind of thing. But it's honestly, it's the best thing I've ever done, the best thing I did, but it was incredibly difficult to leave all the community and the life and all the beliefs system and financially just start over from nothing, and move across the country like that was really hard, but it was the best thing I ever did.
Every time I hear your story, it's so crazy. For those of us that are not familiar with the cult life, I have a couple of questions about that. But you also said that you started that process when she was 2 months old and you left when she was 6. What transpired in that 4 months that you had to wait? I assume you were writing the letter and waiting to hear back. But what did you do in that time when they still expected you to take her to that
Well, we are working. I managed to allow them to let her come to work with me. And they told me 6 months was the cutoff, no more of that. So I kept her, and they did have I did a bunch of different jobs. There was 6 different jobs that I did. And they let me stay in an office for most of the time, but then they told me 6 months was the cap, and I was going to have to go back out and do all of my other jobs, which were very physical and a lot of movement and stuff. And they told me there was absolutely no way that I was going to be able to take her with me. So and during that time we were in meetings after meetings getting screamed at, which was pretty like, it's interesting looking back on it now, like the level of the capacity that you have for abuse. So getting screamed at every day, me and my husband in the office, them just yelling at us, and phone calls from really important people, was just kind of like a baseline, really. So it's like, I remember those months as now with like horror, but honestly, that was like my whole life up until that point. We were very controlled. They told us what to do, where to go, when we could do it. We are controlled financially. We made less than minimum wage, and we worked 50 hours a week. And I mean, it's a very closed life, I guess, is really what I want
And
to say.
so having been born into that, do you think, how do you think, I mean, I guess you were kind of just bred in a way to deal with it, but how do you think, coping wise, you were able to answer adversity, like rise to those occasions and get through that, and then realize when you left, like, these are the things I now need to change because I've
Absolutely.
just I've just learned to deal with that, and that's like relearning that that's not necessarily okay.
Yeah. A big part of it was because we were taught to obey, we were taught to listen, and we were taught to that what leadership is telling you is correct 100% across the board. So a big part of that stepping out and leaving had to do with me trusting myself. And I was a new mother, but something in me, like something happened in me when I became a mother. Honestly, it's like this life, I was responsible for this life, and there was like no excuses anymore. Like I could excuse someone injuring me and abusing me, but like I could not allow it for my daughter. And that's where I was like, I will not do this, because I'd put up with a lot of stuff, and you always kind of explain it away and you dismiss it as like, oh, that's a person, that's not the institution, that's not the organization. And also, like, the higher I got in it, the more I like learned and started to question and like realized that it wasn't true, and I started to trust myself.
That's that takes a lot of strength. That's beautiful though. Um, so what do you think in terms of, because now you're an entrepreneur, you're a freelancer, you do all of those things, and obviously even through the cult life, I feel like they sort of fostered that entrepreneurship because you were responsible for this type of thing and that type of thing. So what do you think it is about entrepreneurs that kind of makes you continue through those challenges without giving up when the times get tough? And I mean, for you, obviously, it really helped when you had your first child, and now you have three beautiful babies. But what is it really that is ingrained in us, I think, because you also are very scholarly, you're very smart, she's a, everybody who doesn't know Ariane, she's a copywriter as well, and she writes beautifully, and she has yeah, a way with words. But I feel like that also helps you kind of do that questioning and dive into those things. But what do you think it is about entrepreneurs that makes us continue on without giving up?
Like, I feel like entrepreneurs have a ingrained self-reliance, that you know that your life is up to you. It's your responsibility and your family, and you just have to. So you just step up, and you never really realize how strong you are until you have to be that strong. And what I think is so um exciting. Like if anybody was to ask me, like, would if I knew my whole history, would I have left the cult sooner? Would I have not gone into the leadership program? Would I have not done anything? And the answer is no. I wouldn't have made any choices differently because I am who I am today because of what I came through. And I believe that it takes that deep adversity for you to grow as high as you can. Not that it's good, but it is trying. It's like fire, right? It tempers the metal that goes into it and it comes out so much stronger. And that's how I feel.
You're forged. You're forged in fire. I love that. No, I think that that's so true. And a lot of people kind of overlook that, or they're like, man, I wish I didn't go through that. But you forget that if you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't have learned those lessons. You wouldn't have taken away all of that and been stronger from it.
Yeah.
And that's important. Speaking of takeaways, what takeaway or lesson would other mompreneurs be able to use from your experience?
I think that listening to yourself and learning to really allow your inner voice to be heard, to listen to it, to get still and to listen to it, and to really take action on that voice, even when other people are telling you that you're wrong. I think that's a really huge skill to have. And just to know that whatever hardship you're facing, you can get through it. You will get through it. And to just keep going, and to believe in yourself and to just put that, your faith and your trust in that.
This is the first time I've done a few interviews now. This is the first time I've heard the self-reliance piece, and I think
Okay.
that was really impactful. I love that. Because I do think that that's a huge piece of what we all take with us from everything that we are investing in or fail from, or, fail, although a lot of people don't believe that it's failure anymore. But from all of the setbacks, all of the challenges, all the obstacles you go through, I think that's the biggest piece. And I think that's probably why personal development is so so huge right now, is because we are realizing that the more that you can do development on yourself and rely on what you are and listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think this might be a tangent, but I think it's interesting, like kind of growing up, my parents' like generation, like the 80s and the 90s, there was this prosperity. Like there was like everybody was doing pretty well, inflation was low, the job market was high, people were getting paid well. And it was like, and it was kind of ingrained in me, I don't know, in school or otherwise, but get a job and they'll take care of you. And that was just how it is. And it's not like that anymore today. You cannot just get a job and have it take care of it. You have to build your own way.
yeah. And even if you do have a job, most of the time you have to have some sort of side hustle or something going on that is bringing in some extra income somewhere else, which is so fascinating how that's changing and morphing.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for sharing. What's the best way for others to find you if they'd like to work with you or learn more?
Well, I am a part of a amazing team of women called Renegade Virtual Trades, and we are business strategists and optimizers. So what we do is we take people who are young in their business or new in their business, and we show them all the ways that they could grow, and we provide the tools for them to grow as well. And we do some of the implementation for them. So we can be found at renegadevirtualtrades.com. And we are launching something that we're really excited about. We are launching a community where primarily women, but I guess men can come too, where entrepreneurs can come to network and to grow. And it's also going to have a self-development piece with sponsored courses and different membership levels where you can have access to it. So it's very exciting, and we're launching it in the spring, summer.
I can't wait for it. It's gonna be huge. I get to see all the pieces of the planning, and it's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait just to see like what has already started in it. It's gonna blow up. It's gonna be huge. You definitely want to get in on it. Um, and then yeah, I will include the link below for everybody so that they can just click in and go and talk to you if they're interested in any of those pieces? What kind of things do you help them with for their business?
We help people with automation funnels. We help people with website design and building and connecting all of the pieces. Basically, we let you be great at what you do. We do all the technical stuff on the back end. We do some marketing. I do writing. It's my favorite thing. So help you bring your brand voice to light and graphics and all the things just to help you shine.
Fantastic. And rise from the ashes.
Mm.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ariane. Your story is always inspirational, and I feel like I always learn a new tidbit each time I hear about it. And your willingness to be open about it is very much appreciated and needed this day and age. For those of you out there facing your own adversity, know you are not alone. That is why we're doing this, so you can hear other stories and not feel alone. When you need an extra hand or a mind for brainstorming during your mompreneur journey, we would love to work with you through the Mom Elevated Society. You'll find monthly check-ins for goal setting and assessing, and so much more for both your business and your mom life. And until next time, keep shooting for the stars.